Hello and welcome to TidyX, screencast where we go through try to explain how our code works. My name is Ellis Hughes. You can find me on Twitter at Ellis_Hughes.
And my name is Patrick Ward. You can find me on Twitter at OSPPatrick. You can find both of us on Twitter at tidy_explained. Or feel free to drop us an email with questions, comments, ideas, things you'd like to see in the future at tidy.explained@gmail.com.
Yes, definitely reach out to us. We've had a few people reach out to us recently, and thank you for those comments. We love hearing from y'all. And if you come across errors in our code or whatnot, because things have changed since we last used them, definitely let us know. We want to keep those up to date for you. All right, so this week's data set. So this week is a little bit crazy. I'm sure you can see in the background here, I've got a bunch of boxes behind me. It's because I'm moving. So
wow, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So we didn't have a ton of time this week to do it. So what we did is Patrick very kindly put together a fun script from this week's data set, which this week's Tidy Tuesday data set is on historical phone usage. So this comes from ourworldindata.org. So they're a great source of data for those of you that are looking for unique or new data sources or data sets to analyze, visualize, have some fun with it. So it's available. So you can download it using the Tidy Tuesday R package, which is available on CRAN. And we'll get going with this. All right, so here's Patrick's script. It's an R Markdown. Got a nice little header here. And this first chunk here is a lot. Basically, this is all the data munging that's going to be happening for this, right? So Patrick, you want to take us through this?
Yeah, pretty clean data set. So we load in our packages, the ones that we usually load in, Tidyverse and Tidy Tuesday R. And then we're going to load in Plotly because we're going to use that here at the end. We set our theme to light because why not? We always do. And then
we like the way it looks. And
we like the way it looks. Yeah, I don't like the default gray.
Yeah, and now all our plots are going to be themed to theme light.
Theme light, exactly. So Tuesday data, we're pulling in the data from 11/10/2020. Really convenient little function there, and we can take a look at that data. We can get basically the exact screen that you'd see on the R for Data Science GitHub repo. There's two data sets in today's or in this week's Tidy Tuesday, a mobile data set and a landline data set. So obviously we're looking at historical phone usage. So we pull those two data sets in and we give it a quick head to take a look at what we're looking at. You can see they're relatively small. We don't, unlike previous Tidy Tuesdays, we're not dealing with a lot of columns or anything like that. These are pretty small, and you can see that they are they are 100% identical data sets. You have one for mobile phones and one for landlines. You have information. The entity is going to be our country, and then a country code. You have the year that the data was gathered. You have the total population within that country, within that entity. We have the GDP per capita, and then we have the landline and the mobile subs being the abbreviation for subscription, which is out of or per 100 in the population.
Mm-hmm. And that's really important to note.
Yep, there it is. Fixed mobile subscription per 100 people. And then there's one more variable we're not showing there because it got kind of hacked off. You could see it at the bottom, is continent. So that's going to be an important one for us towards the end. There we go. All right.
Alrighty.
So moving along.
So
we have our data in. Yeah.
Go for it. Continue.
We're gonna do a little bit of cleaning here. So we're gonna add a column to each of the data sets, and that column is just gonna tell us the total subscriptions. So we take the mobile subscriptions. Remember that was out of 100 or a rate per 100. So we're gonna multiply that by the total population divided by 100. And then we're also going to add this extra column in called type. And we do that for the mobile data set. And then we do that for the landline data set. And then we're going to bind the rows together. And the type column is important because that's going to allow us to differentiate between the two types of phone usages. And that's going to be important when we go to plot our data and look at these different regions of the world. So we can run those two little mutates, and we can bind the rows, and we pull the head up, and now we have all the data in one data frame called DF.
Mm-hmm.
All
As you can
right.
see here, we've got type, which is the one of the new fields we created, as well as total subscriptions.
Yep. And now you can you want to walk through some of the just some exploratory data analysis that we
Sure
did?
thing. Yeah, we just wanted to get a quick peek at what was going on at the underlying data, what we're about to be looking at. So this is a pretty straightforward plot. So we're going to take df, pipe it into ggplot. We're going to set the aesthetics to be x equals to year, so the x-axis is year. Y is going to be total subscription, so that's a variable we just calculated, and that is the total number of subscriptions for that content or for that country. And then set the color to be type. So this will be coloring it by either mobile or landline. Then we go into stat summary, and we want to be calculating, okay, so calculate the mean and then turn it into a line. So we're creating a line plot. So this is a slightly different way to doing a line plot where we didn't pre-calculate a lot of the values. We're doing it in the actual ggplot here. And then we're going to go and do a scale color manual. So we're setting the colors manually to be what we want it to be. So the values are going to be green or blue. So then depending, I think it'll be mobile will be green because it's listed first. And then landline will be blue because it's listed second. We're going to add a facet to it so that we're able to look at the different continents to see how those all look. Just out of curiosity, the behavior of the different continents. Over time, and then we're going to set the y-axis to be using scales comma, because otherwise it can start using there can be pretty large numbers and it can just get kind of ugly there.
Kick out scientific notation.
Yeah, which just never really looks very good in my opinion on a plot there. If you're going to be doing scientific notation, maybe rethink how it, unless it makes sense. But like there's always there's rules, and then there's times to break those rules. But let's run that. All right, so we've got this data set here, and we thought this was pretty interesting, the way that the different continents they all had upwards trends, obviously, for mobile, because, once you get mobile, everyone likes to have it. Like, it's so convenient to have. You're not stuck in a specific spot. Actually, right before this, we were talking about laptops versus desktops in a different way. Now I'm using a desktop. He's using a laptop. I used to be a laptop. Now I really like my desktop. So sorry, random tangent there. And then also we thought was pretty interesting is that in a lot of these other countries, landline obviously started off as the more common subscription because, well, that's been around for a really long time. But as soon as mobile started getting popular, landline subscriptions dropped almost everywhere, except for Asia.
People were like, I want both. I want, you know what? Not only do I want 2 mobile phones, I also want a landline.
Yeah. Hey,
Give me phones. I just want phones. Give me more phones.
Exactly. I mean, it's just really interesting that you can look, just like, this is just looking at it. We have not done any like external analysis or understanding.
Yeah.
But like
it is interesting.
America's the landline kind of peaks a little bit before they actually cross. Europe as well, it's no longer really going up once mobile starts picking up. But Asia, it peaks after.
Yeah, like really interesting.
2006 or so, I don't know. But I don't know. Thought that was interesting, worth bringing up. Maybe somebody knows.
The other thing I think with this though is Asia, because we're doing total subscriptions, the population is going to be just astronomical compared to like Oceania. So we could actually do like a free scales Y in the facet.
Yeah.
And that might give us a better look at some of this stuff.
This would be scales equals to free Y.
Yeah, free Y.
So I always thought it was a little strange here the way that they set that up. Yeah. Where you need to write a string there, where it wasn't like scale free Y true or something like that. But here you go. Now we see more detailed.
Now you see Oceania, right, which has like Australia, which would be a large population of people who probably have cell phones. Now we see that they did exhibit a similar trend. Whereas when we were looking at it all on the same scale, Asia was totally dwarfing that trend because just the volume of people there, is just going to crush it. Now it's a little bit more telling. I mean, it doesn't change the fact that, although, yeah, what's with the little blip in landlines? in like
Anyone from
2018.
Australia or Shiana want to give us some insight into that? I mean,
That's an
is there a
interesting one.
screaming deal on landlines right now?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. But it's kind of cool now that we set the scale to free up the y-axis for each of the facets individually. Uh, Now you can really kind of see that
Hmm.
this trend is
So
pretty prevalent.
it always depends on what we're really trying to look at. Are you trying to look at a trend? Or are you trying to look at absolute values? That's what really matters when you're setting the scales to do that. But all right, so now we're going to hop into the main visualization that we wanted to go over, what I think is really cool. Patrick came up with this. Patrick, you want to take us through this?
Yeah, I thought we would do kind of a fun interactive one. So I'm going to create a plot that I'll call PLT. I'll assign it to the element PLT. We're going to take that DF data set, and I'm just going to filter out by continent. Americas just to kind of keep it smaller. You can do this with all of them together, and I did. It just takes a lot longer to render an interactive animated plot. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just build the ggplot as we normally would. So we have our aesthetics where we want on the x-axis the GDP per capita for the Americas in this case, and then the y-axis our total subscriptions. And we want to color by entity. Remember, entity is the actual country. So the countries within the Americas are all going to be represented here. Okay, we're going to have a points plot. So I'm going to set a few aesthetics here, which are going to be important for what happens when we turn this into an animation. So the first thing is I want to set the size of the points to the total population. And that's just because obviously there's some countries that are going to have a larger population than others. So it's just important to reflect it as such. Okay, the frame and the IDs, the frame is going to be by year. So this is, as our interactive plot is going by, it's going to be moving by year, and it's going to be changing or moving the entities, the countries around by year as it goes across time. So that's what we set inside of this geom point. Now it's a little bit of styling from there out. So we set some labels. We have an x-axis as the GDP per capita and a y-axis as the total number of phone subscriptions, just trying to be descriptive. And then the title is phone subscriptions relative to growth in GDP, with a subtitle saying the location is the Americas. I'm going to just make a simple kind of nice thing here with the theme. So I'm going to set the axis texts and the axis titles to different sizes and make sure that they're bold so they kind of pop out. I'm going to set a plot title to a specific size, and I'm going to adjust it to 0.5. So I want it right in the center of the plot. And same thing with the subtitle. I'm going to put it right underneath the plot title. And then I'm going to set the strip background we actually didn't need this. When I did the full one with the facets, that's when I set the strip background and strip text. We don't need that here. So those are absolutely useless.
You are fascinating.
No, they are. No,
so
actually,
they are useful.
They are useful.
Yourself,
Yes,
bud.
I got ahead of myself. That should have been up above. The facet is going to be based off of the phone type, so landline versus mobile. And so I'm going to set the strip background and the strip text explicitly. So I want the background to be that dark black color with the strip text to sit over top of it in white, and I want it to be bolded so it really pops off. And then the legend position, I'm just going to get set as none. And the reason I do that is because we're going to be using Plotly. It's going to be an interactive plot. So if you want to see the country and the information with that country, you just hover over it.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll go ahead and run that.
Yeah, and I moved the facet up here.
Yeah, thanks. So. That's helpful. My bad. Okay, so before you run this, if you run the plot itself, you're going to see all of the points. And so it's this weird, like, ugly thing. So literally, once we wrap this in our ggplotly function, it's going to turn those into interactive little points that move. Yeah, that move from frame to frame.
All right, so
and we did use the default frame setting. You can set the frame to move faster in this.
How do you do that?
I don't think it's in this. I believe it's, if I remember correctly.
Sorry to put you on the spot there.
Yeah, no, I you know what? I should have memorized that.
Oh well, whatever. We can look at that. We can talk about that in the future because it didn't Eric in his Shiny app, didn't he use Plotly to do it? Or did he use a different tool?
No, I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Let me see.
So then go take a look at episode 32 with Eric Nance when we went through and he used a Metaverse package to what was it? It was the data set was don't trust your data, visualize it, because they all had the same mean, standard deviation, and correlations,
Right.
but the shapes were all totally different. So I thought,
Yeah.
yeah,
Super cool.
yeah. But anyway, so this is the visualization here. Let me zoom out because zooming in, we found, makes our studio's viewer not very happy sometimes.
There we go. And so you have two options with this. You can hit play and it'll move frame by frame, as you can see. And again, like I said, we can set the frame speed. I just forgot how to do it. Or you can actually just drag the little dot that's moving through the frames and you can do this yourself. So like we said at the outset, we didn't have much time due to the big move and all of that stuff. But I was thinking about just trying to get some player tracking data for sports, whether it's soccer or basketball or football or anything. This is a really fun way where you can put up a play and you can animate the players moving on the field and you give the user full control. So this is very different. We did GG Animate before.
Yeah,
I think it was the bump plots, like episode 5 or 6 or something.
Super early.
Yeah, and so we've done that before. And with GG Animate, you have no control. Like it's going to play the animation, it's going to pause, and then it's going to auto restart. With this, you give the user total control to go back and forth and toggle. So if you had like soccer or basketball data, for example, you could visualize the team coming down the court. You could watch how different players, maybe move in space or move around defenders and all those kinds of things. So it's actually kind of a fun way to
yeah, and then you can also hover over it too to get some more information about it. Like if there's some contextual knowledge that you want to be passing on, like this player, they run a I don't know, a 40 in this time or some, I don't know, some information.
Yeah, you can put in whatever, and you can also highlight, or you can also zoom in as a normal Plotly.
And you can still play it. Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, so that's pretty sweet.
So that could be fun. Yeah, So animations are a lot of fun. They're really cool. There's a couple different ways to do it. I definitely saw plots similar to this week that people submitted. So I don't know. It's just I wanted to compare them, but like I said, didn't have time to do all that.
Yeah,
I'd love to do more in the future, though.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, pretty fun one. Lots of options, animation. Anytime you can make the data interactive, I think that
it's always a benefit.
Almost
always a benefit.
Almost always a benefit. People seem to like that. So
yeah.
And I think actually you could even save this if you hit the export. You can save it to a web page, so it's going to save it out to a web page for you.
Yeah, so I can save that into here. What would this be? GDP versus what was the
phone use or something like that?
Or subscriptions.
Oh, subscription. Yeah, phone subscription. That's the one.
There we go. So now I can go open this up. It's an HTML.
Yeah,
and you can
so you can
share it.
Click and send this out to, people that you work with or someone on your team, and
be like, hey, go take a look at this.
Yeah, so it's super cool.
But alrighty, with that, I think we're gonna call it. Yes.
All right.
As always, my name is Ellis Hughes. You can find me on Twitter at Ellis_Hughes.
And I'm Patrick Ward. You can find me on Twitter at OSPPatrick. You can hit us both up on Twitter at tidy_explained, or drop us an email at tidy.explained@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. We've taken a few emails and turned them into actual episodes. Yeah. So
keep on emailing us.
Yeah.
And with that, keep on exploring your world.